In the American Southwest, hundreds of feet below the sun-baked sandstone, lie hidden canyons. These mysterious canyons often have an irresistible siren song for those who have either glimpsed or heard of them. Today, we take you along on a journey into one of these beautiful remote slot canyons on To The Edge. Welcome to The Edge, where today we'll introduce you to the enigmatic sport of canyoneering. Our expert, John Middendorf, is a renowned big wall climber and canyoneer. His 1992 18-day ascent of the massive north face of Pakistan's Great Triangle Tower, as well as a staggering 33 ascents of El Capitan, puts Middendorf in a small group of truly great mountaineers.
Hello, my name is John Middendorf, and today we're going to go for a little canyoneering adventure. First, we'll go over some basic techniques. Then we'll learn about the tools that we'll need to do some canyoneering. And finally, we'll dive into our own little slot canyon here in southwest Utah. See you down there.
Over time, water and the process of erosion have carved narrow, winding slot canyons into the soft sandstone of the Four Corners region of the American Southwest. These surreal slot canyons can be hundreds of feet deep and barely a few feet wide. They're also difficult to find.
Canyoneers have quite a word-of-mouth information exchange. There's kind of an unwritten rule not to document these canyons and keep them purely word-of-mouth. Directions as to where to hop along the side of the cliff versus descending straight into the canyon, or even information on where the entrance to these canyons are. So it's a good idea to get into the community before and find out exactly what the canyons are like in that area before committing to any kind of canyoneering adventure.
Up next, John takes us through the technical basics of what you need to know about this hybrid sport of canyoneering when To The Edge continues.
For the sport of canyoneering, it's a good idea to have a strong handle on the basic techniques. So, boys and girls, let's get our shoes and socks on and let's go. It really requires actually a lot of hiking in the same area before you can really start pinpointing the canyons and figuring out how it's best to descend from point A to point B.
Before being overly interested with getting from the proverbial point A to point B, there are a myriad of skills and techniques that you'll need to know well to get you across the variety of terrain you're sure to find.
Good down climbing skills are essential for canyoneering. When you have a steep slab like this, you can face out forward, and the key thing is to keep the center weight over your feet by keeping your body upright. It's a matter of balance. Sometimes in the desert you'll have a very fragile flake, like this one here. And from above it looks like a good solid foothold, but if you put your weight on it, you can see it may break off like somebody else has done here. And so when you're down climbing, you really need to be careful of that. Kind of maneuver around to footholds that you can see that look good. When it gets a little steeper, you may have to turn and face the rock. And there you roll your ankle, switch over, and you have a little bit more sense of balance because you have your hands on the rock, but at the same time it's slightly harder to find your footholds. When it gets really steep, you're going to want to check to make sure that it's a possibility to get down. Once you've determined that you think it'll go, then you begin down climbing. And it's always key to watch where you're going to put that next foot. And kind of plan, as soon as you get a better view, plan out a little bit more as far as where you can go safely. Good crack. Whenever you're climbing, 3 points of contact is a good rule. That means of the 4 appendages, 2 feet and 2 arms, that you have 3 of those on the rock at any one time. So, move my foot, move my hand, and foot again, hand, foot, foot, foot. If the terrain gets too steep to down climb, you have to resort to using ropes and rappel. I like a figure 8 for rappelling. It's a good all-around tool. You can actually use it for belaying through the small hole, and creates a lot of friction. To do so, you create a bite with a rope, put it through the big hole around the base, into the locking beaner. Make sure that beaner's locked. Check your harness. Now in this case, my left hand will be my brake hand because that's the one going down. My top hand is just my guide hand. The other key thing for rappel is to keep your weight out from the rock, a good stance, good wide stance, and never, never let go of the brake hand. My left hand is the brake hand. It controls my speed of descent. I can go faster. And I can totally stop myself with that brake hand. Again, you always, when rappelling, always have a wide stance, and always watch where you put your feet on the way down. If you ever need to scratch your nose, use the non-brake hand. Another key thing is when you get down to the bottom, the figure 8's going to have absorbed a lot of the potential energy through friction, and it may be quite hot. So you want to take it off the rope fairly quickly because the purlin ropes can get melted by a hot figure 8. When it comes time to rappel, it's always good to find a good sturdy anchor, like this solid tree here. And I've tied it with 2 1-inch wide nylon slings with a water knot tied with each of the slings. I've also used 2 descending rings. This reduces friction, so when it comes time to pull the rope, it'll pull much easier. The knot I've used here to tie the 2 ropes together is an overhand knot. I'll tie a second one as a backup. I like this knot because it only has one flat side, so it actually rotates around constrictions better than a knot that is symmetrical on both sides. But I always want a lot of tail with a knot like this, at least 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet even. The other key thing to remember in rappels is to remember which rope to pull. In this case, we're going to pull white. That means the red one will come up and drop down when we're done. I'll see you on the bottom.
John shows us what he's packing for his trip down a slot canyon when To The Edge continues. The equipment required for the sport of canyoneering is really a mixture of gear that's typical for a few different sports, because canyoneering is part hiking, part rock climbing, often with a lot of water obstacles thrown in. As a sport, it's something that requires a great deal of experience and a variety of technical skills, a fairly substantial degree of fitness, endurance, and a frame of mind that can deal with changing conditions. Having the right gear is crucial for any backcountry adventure, especially one as demanding as canyoneering. John unpacks his pack and gives us a gear guide of what to have with you at all times.
Here I've laid out some of the tools that we'll need for any kind of canyoneering adventure. We've got some extra clothes, some warmer clothes, even a hat. Even if it's 100 degrees outside, it could be near freezing temperatures in some of those canyons. Some extra socks, because it's a lot of wet tramping around. Some warm clothes. And a plastic bag is always nice, so you can put some things that absolutely need to be dry. Helmet is a good thing to take. For most adventures, you'll need some way to get out with a rope. You can either opt for a set of Jumars with aiders and daisies, a full rig, or a couple prussiks at the very minimum, so you can ascend the rope. A first aid kit is always an essential item, and extra water, food. Again, for advanced adventures, we may need a bolt kit and a hammer. Always, we'll need slings, lots of slings to tie off different things for rappels, and some extra beaners and a few pieces of gear. Our harness with lock and carabiner and a figure 8. My big wall pocket, which has things like a sewing kit, tape, little flashlight. And one of the main key things is a good pack that'll keep your stuff dry. Here's a pack that actually has a waterproof river type closure on it. And there we have it.
Recently, the North Face acquired John's company, A5 Adventures, which is the premier manufacturer of portaledges used by climbers on multi-day ascents. Portaledges allow climbers to sleep overnight, bolted and attached to the rock on a big wall. But portaledges aren't all he designs.
Here's the pack we've seen in action. This is our Astro Pack. It's built for wall climbing, and it has the haulable features. Ready to haul system, handles, and tuck away shoulder straps, things like that. One thing about this pack is that it uses traditional sewn technology, and this is made with a sewing machine, and in doing so there's needle holes going through it. In this case, this pack is not completely waterproof. It's highly water resistant because it has the waterproof closure and whatnot, but the needle holes will definitely allow water to pass through if it's submerged. A pack we've been working on utilizes a completely new technology, welded seam technology. This pack has no needle holes in it at all. Every seam is welded, RF welded, and it's a urethane material which takes well to the welding, and it has we've transferred all our features that we built for wall climbing onto this river pack. It's got the shoulder straps that tuck away, so you can completely create a bullet-shaped pack for when you don't need the shoulder straps, but when you do, it's a very comfortable suspension. It also has a waterproof closure, and essential for any kind of pack that you're going to be lugging around the desert, handles on the side and the bottom. But the main feature is that without any sewn seams, we have an incredibly waterproof pack, 100% waterproof, can be submerged. This is pretty good for places where you know you're going to get quite wet. Good proper footwear is essential for canyoneering. For dry canyons, a shoe that has actually a sticky sole like these Boreal Thea Flyers is a good choice. Often these canyons are wet, so some sort of sandal is the choice. For shorter canyons that don't require a lot of serious hiking. Or you can alternately go with aqua sock type shoe. A new kind of canyoneering shoe that's coming out is river shoe too, is these combination hiking shoes. They have a lot of draining in their design, so they don't get too saturated. One thing you want to avoid is shoes that just don't hold up to being in continuous wet conditions. My personal favorite is just the regular Nike type hiking shoe which actually have a tread and a sticky sole. So it's a good all-around boot. Even though it'll get wet and my feet will be quite soggy at the end of a wet canyon, it's still a good choice for all-around canyoneering.
If you decide canyoneering is something you'd like to do, here are some approximate gear price guidelines. Just ahead, John and his partner Casey suit up to rappel down on To The Edge.
Now we're ready to put some of these basic skills together. Join my partner Casey and me for a trip down Antelope Canyon in northern Arizona. Excellent! A proud slot canyon.
Oh yeah, this is great. How deep do you think that is?
It's like about 60 or 70 feet. A good harness has not a lot of padding, so it'll dry out fast when you're going through the big pools. Another essential feature for serious rope adventuring is to have a good belay loop, which connects the leg loops to the main harness, the main waist harness. As always, with buckle harnesses, it's very important to double back. When you're uncoiling a rope, it's always important to stack it neatly on the ground. That way, when you gather it up for the rappel toss, there's no kinks or anything in it. I'm getting ready to throw the rope down the slot canyon. Here's a trick I picked up in Europe. It's the rabbit ears coil. You lay each coil halfway across. It's a really good method for rappelling because, for throwing a rope down a rappel, because it allows the rope to uncoil really freely, and so no kinks will snag the rope on its way down. Before you throw the rope, it's always good to say rope as loud as you can. Make sure anyone down there, if anyone is, can hear you. Rope! Rope! Looks good. I can lock you off again. Now you're fixed.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Watch your head. Whoop. Good job. Oh,
Right.
that's a sporty rappel, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was hard on top. That first step, it's the hardest step.
Up next, we'll slide down the slot when To The Edge continues.
The canyon itself was formed over tens of thousands of years, most likely, and the original sandstone layers, which took hundreds of thousands of years to form, are seen through the striations in the rock. Not only that, but it also creates these incredibly curved geometric shapes that are very beautiful. And in the light, in certain light, it looks so amazing the way the light bounces down the canyon sides.
I feel like I'm plummeting into the depths of the earth here.
Welcome to Canyoneering.
Is it so deep? Is it like 10 feet deep, you think?
So deep. Yeah. I don't know. On the other side, it gets a little bit less deep. Nice.
That's actually refreshing.
Good job.
Oh, man. Okay, so this is the rappel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Near my figure eight.
you got it right there on your side.
Oh.
A little bit of squirm in here. The thing about canyoneering is that it's you often don't have too much information. You have the USGS maps that will give you some reading on what the contours like are down canyon, but often you don't know whether there's going to be an exit down canyon or whether you're going to have to retrace your steps back out to the entrance. And so you always need to be aware that you may need to go out the way you came in. But the best canyons are the ones where you can traverse down the canyons for quite a ways and then come out where there may be a wash or a place where the canyon breaks and you can actually climb out. Whoa, a bit of a drop off. Yikes, it's a little bit dicey. I think we may need the rope here. Steps like these are found all over the Southwest. The Anasazi use them to gain access to otherwise inaccessible places, possibly for a transit route across the Grand Canyon, or possibly to build a home away from possible enemies, or possibly just to get up into this spot here for maybe they had a place where they hunted for food. Whenever you're climbing these, you always want to be in sequence. Obviously, if you start out of sequence, you're going to be doing some crazy crossovers, and it gets pretty awkward. So, instead of that, you'll notice that there's a left, right, left, right. So, first step's always the key. Left and right, left, right. Coming down is the same way. You want to definitely be in the proper sequence. Coming down is always a little bit more tricky than going up when you're climbing, so it's even more essential. Voila.
Oh, that was great. Thanks, John.
All right. Cool.
Southern Utah, a region known worldwide as having the rare combination of stark red rock desert beauty entwined with lush, verdant valleys. It also is the perfect location to take a look at the increasingly popular hybrid sport of canyoneering and bring you along on a journey that combines desert hiking, advanced rock climbing, and the ability to navigate through water of unknown depths on today's To The Edge. Arches, Bryce, Zion, all glittering crown jewels in the National Park Service. Zion National Park is located in the far southwest corner of Utah and is approximately 100 miles north of the Grand Canyon. The word Zion means place of refuge and was given to this area by the early Mormon pioneers.
Hello, my name is John Middendorf, and today I'm going to show you some advanced canyoneering techniques before we head off for a very technical adventure here in the Southwest. But first, I got to jug out of here. Here I've laid out some of the tools that we'll need for any kind of canyoneering adventure. We've got some extra clothes, some warmer clothes, even a hat. Even if it's 100 degrees outside, it could be near freezing temperatures in some of those canyons. Some extra socks because it's a lot of wet tramping around. Some warm clothes. A plastic bag, a set of plastic bags for keeping your clothes dry is always a key item. A helmet for certain adventures. Headlamp, always have the first aid kit. For getting out of the rope, having a set of jumars and aiders and daisies is nice. But at the very minimum, you're going to want to take a set of prussics to ascend a rope. Again, for advanced adventures, we'll need a bolt kit and a hammer. Here we have lots of extra water and some food, of course, for a full-day adventure. Carabiners, extra slings, maybe some longer ones, a few pieces of gear, a good harness with the belay loop and the locking beaner and the figure 8. The big wall pocket, which has some essential items like some tape and flashlight, Swiss Army knife. And one of the key items for serious wet adventures is to have a pack that is somewhat waterproof. And here I have a pack that actually has a waterproof closure, the river type closure on it. And that's always nice, especially when you're swimming through big puddles. And that's it.
Up next, our host John Middendorf takes us through a few advanced technical basics of what you need to know about this hybrid sport of canyoneering when To The Edge continues. In a world where many of us are seeking out adventure, canyons offer some of the last unvisited parts of the country. They are, in a sense, nature's cathedrals and look different every time you go down them. As a sport, canyoneering is something that requires a great deal of experience and a variety of technical skills, a fairly substantial degree of fitness, endurance, and a frame of mind that can deal with changing conditions.
Before we do an advanced canyon, there's some technical skills that we need to master. When you're traveling down a canyon, you want to always leave, you never want to pull your rope for rappel until you're sure the canyon continues. And oftentimes when you're doing exploratory missions, you may leave the rope and then you'll have to come back up the same way. And to ascend a rope, you can use what's called ascenders or jumars in this case. And they're essentially rope clamps. They have some sharp teeth and they cam the rope. And the way they work is they have a safety latch that prevents the rope from coming off, but they mostly will slide up the rope, but when you pull down, they cam and hold the rope securely. The next thing to do is to clip yourself in with daisy chains. Since when you're jumaring or ascending a rope, your connection to your jumars are your only belay. And so you really want to have good locking beaners attached to each ascender and then clip your daisy chains, which are connected to your waist, to those. Then it's a matter of stepping up on one jumar and hanging from your waist on the other. 2 aiders are nice. You can, I like to put my right foot in my third step of my right aider, my left foot in the second step of my left aider. And with that, you can really start trucking up. One of the key things to ascending a rope is not resting on your arms. In this case, I have a daisy chain, which I can rest comfortably on the top Jumar. The other thing is that if a ascender is weighted, you cannot move it, obviously. And so it becomes a sequence of alternating your weight between the two. So in this case, I'll move my lower one, which I don't have any weight on, step on it. The top one becomes unweighted. I move it up, and I can hang back again. I'll move the bottom one up, step up, and again. If you don't have any mechanical ascenders, you can use a prusik. And a prusik is basically a loop of 5 or 6 millimeter cord that you wrap around through itself 3 times at least. The more you wrap it, the more friction it'll have. Neaten it up. And this knot can be moved up a rope, but will secure itself. And then it can be slid up again and anchored. So I will demonstrate moving up with some prusiks. You need 2. Although they're not as convenient as mechanical ascenders, you can indeed ascend a rope. Again, you have one to step up with your foot and the other one to hang off with, to hang from. Move the bottom one up, step up, push the top one up, hang, bottom one up, step up, top one up, hang.
Whether you choose to ascend with prusiks or Jumars, staying smooth and steady is the key.
When Jumaring, it's always important to keep a smooth motion upward and not bounce too much. If you bounce, there may be a sharp edge up there that the rope can get cut over. So when you're Jumaring, when I Jumar, I move smooth. Getting over an edge can present a problem too. It may require this is going to be an awkward edge. It's a little bit of an overhang. I may actually reach over and do a little climbing, but always keeping my top Jumar snug. Good fun. You gotta try it.
In canyoneering, the objective is to travel through, over, or across canyons and plateaus that are inaccessible by simple hiking or backpacking. With the proper skills and equipment, the exploration of new and remarkable areas becomes possible. Never ever go into a canyon alone or without someone who's been down the canyon before and knows the area well. Here, there is always a danger of a flash flood, especially during the months of August and September. You have to watch the weather constantly. both before as well as throughout the entire time you're in the canyon.
Here in Zion, we have some of the most consistently challenging and beautiful slot canyons possibly in the world, certainly in southern Utah. They represent a tremendous opportunity for the park visitor, a very different type of an experience for the park visitor. But anyone entering a slot canyon has definitely a responsibility that they need to fulfill. That responsibility is not only to themselves, but to the other members of their party for their safety. The slot canyons, in their nature, provide very little opportunity for retreat. So as one rappels through the slot canyon and pulls the ropes, you're stuck, unless you know how to get back out somehow, either through climbing or through ascending rope techniques. You need to know the slot very well. It needs to be very well researched out. The other aspect of slot canyoneering that on a beautiful day like today wouldn't be very evident is flash flood danger. Especially during the months of July, August, and September, storms can come up quickly. They can come up quickly any day of the year, but those are the prime months when you need to be especially cautious and maybe stay out of the slots altogether. It doesn't take much to flood someone out. Just a rise of 2 or 3 cubic feet per second can cause serious problems, all the way from simply being hypothermic to being completely flushed out of a canyon. So there is a responsibility that needs to be met. Anyone interested in doing a slot canyon can get information on them through the Parks Backcountry Office or through the Parks Visitor Center, where publications are made available.
John is well aware of all these precautions which are necessary in canyoneering. In preparation, he scouts a nearby canyon.
Before I commit to any canyoneering adventure, I like to do some research. One is to find out how much it's been raining in the weeks before. Another is to find out how high the water levels have been. In this canyon, we'll see that along the banks, above the water level, the sand is quite saturated. This means that the water levels have been much higher, but also it means that because the sand is so saturated that any additional moisture that may come from even a spring storm will drain right down the drainage, causing the flash flood situation. Based on what I see here, I think we're going to pick a canyon that has a smaller drainage area with less water.
Just ahead, John and his team get ready to rappel when To The Edge continues.
When we first hooked up, the weather didn't look totally promising. There had been afternoon thunderstorm buildup, which had caused a lot of rains the weeks before. Like in the mountains, when you don't want to go backcountry skiing after a heavy snow because of avalanche danger, it's similar in canyoneering. After heavy rain, because of the soil is so saturated, and a light rain can cause a flash flood, it's not a good time to be in the canyons. We got the opportunity to fly over the magnificent Zion National Park. and to look down on these beautiful canyon walls and sheer cliffs. I peered through more canyons to find some of that dark, good climbable rock. I also looked for those canyons that I'd seen only on the map before, and now in 3 dimensions, they came full of life, full of color, and full of the unknown. I'd like to go into a canyon for the first time with someone who has already been there. In this case, I called my friend Tim Martin, who has years and years of experience canyoneering around the Southwest, and knew a lot of the tricks on getting into the canyons and finding your way through them.
Joining John and Tim is David Wilson. His technical expertise could be counted on to help navigate the numerous rappels they were likely to find.
Seems like we have a few options in here. This one in particular looks really narrow down in there. You can really see those contours stack up. Did you have a chance to look at this one from the air?
Yeah, actually that one looked good.
Did it?
Yeah, nice and slotty down at the bottom here.
It's real steep down near the bottom. And, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of rappelling down in there.
Canyoneers have quite a word-of-mouth information exchange. There's kind of an unwritten rule not to document these canyons and keep them purely word of mouth. Directions as to where to hop along the side of the cliff versus descending straight into the canyon, or even information on where the entrance to these canyons are. So it's a good idea to get into the community before and find out exactly what the canyons are like in that area before committing to any kind of canyoneering adventure. That's how quicksand is. Really fine sand.
Just saturated with water,
Yeah.
I think, is all it is. The water has a little bit of an upward,
Point.
welling to it.
I don't think this is going to go.
Yeah, I think it'd be a definite swim.
Definite rappel here, too. Maybe we should try out on that ledge over there. And then
Yeah.
down into those trees, maybe?
Yeah. You go across there.
Yeah, that'd work down end up by that tallest ponderosa.
Yep. Let's give that a shot.
Okay.
When throwing a rope, it's always a good idea to set up the throw properly. Right now I'm doing the European coil where I'm alternating one side on each. One loop on one side, one loop on the other side. This is a good rope for throwing. This is a good coil for throwing because it separates quite easily. So I'll usually do it in 2 batches. I'll throw the center one first. Rope! And then the final rope. That should make it down with very few kinks. Rope! Woo, doggy. How is it down there, David?
Looks like we might end up in a pool down here. It's hard to say. I can't quite see the end. I'll keep you posted.
Our first experience with the pools was one up near the head of the canyon. We had to rappel in not knowing how deep the water was or how cold.
I'm off, Tim.
Looks like it narrows up a little bit down here.
Where the canyon got really narrow, there was a second pool. We ended up wrapping off a fairly rotten log, which only by its sheer mass seemed like it was going to hold us all. Look out for snakes.
It's definitely a swimmer.
Towards late afternoon, the clouds started to move in. The afternoon thunderstorms had been intense in the preceding weeks, and we sure didn't want to be caught in any of these canyons when a thunderstorm was happening up above. Looks like a swim at the end of this.
Yeah, I can't figure out whether we're going to be able to avoid that pool or we're going to just end up right in it.
Okay.
Can't be as bad as the last one.
Yeah.
Looks like this is the final big drop. Boy, it sure does. It's a long ways there.
What do you think? Do I look like Pinata Boy?
All right, you guys, that was a hell of a canyon.
Yeah, way to go.
Woo, doggy.
Good job.
Woo!
That was fun. Let's go do it again.
Good job.
Okay.
A little tired, and it looks like we made it out of there just in time, actually.
Yeah, it's getting
It's looking a little cloudy at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a good place to
Who
be.
knows?
It could be
clouds.
quite sporty if it starts sprinkling around here.
That is not pulling very easily, is it?
No.
Okay, let's give it a good one. Give it a good one. 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay, there it goes. There it goes. There it goes. There it goes. Let's get that thing down.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Give it a nice snap. Watch your hits.
Roll!
All right, there it is. Yeah.
Ow!
Good job. That was fun.
Oh man, that was killer.
Yeah, good canyon.